Good afternoon. It's Fabrizio. Oh, hey, Marlena, how's it going? It was 50-50 whether or not I was going to stream or take a nap, and I'm not going to lie. Right up until the very end, that nap was calling me, but I figured I'd do some coloring today. So, today I'm going to be coloring this, which is the cover for issue 4. I don't think I've colored on a stream before either. I don't believe I have. My process is pretty simple, but getting the right colors down is actually pretty hard. You know, balancing, you know, what characters pop forward, which ones go into the back with such a limited palette can be pretty terrible. Going great, there will be a nap right after. Yeah, I can see that. Oh, and thanks. I didn't realize that you also advertised in issue 2 of Horace H. Hoover, because I got the digital copy recently, so I saw that. So thank you. That's awesome seeing that in my comic. Alrighty. So I actually send my inks to a flatter, so I do get the flats back. That is the one thing that does help me out a little bit. And I do give the flatter some vague direction as far as colors, but usually it just ends up being Horace. Everybody else is totally wrong. So it kind of, having colors like off the bat that are so different than what you're expecting actually it's a little difficult, because you have to go through every single selection and just pick a new color. It doesn't make a difference what it is as long as it's different. Like when I got this, and this guy was like skin colored, I was like, whoa. And we got this red dawn going. Yes, yep. And again, I was just looking at the digital, but I think it was the back cover. Yeah, I guess the books are printed. Should be shipping out soon, which is pretty exciting. I'm hoping that I'll have issue 1 and 2 for Baltimore Comic-Con, which I'm very excited about. There's some huge, like, greats, like comic book greats. Walt Simonson's going to be there. Al Milgrom. I got to double check. You know, some people back out, but I remember seeing the list, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to be sitting at my table long. I'm probably just going to be hanging on Walt Simonson's every word. I'll put some music on too. I always forget this. Alrighty. So the easy thing is probably just this big guy in the back. He's from issue 2, so do I have a palette for him? I think I do. I'm usually pretty good about keeping palettes. Yep, there we go. Whoa, what's a drum track on this? I don't know about that. I do most stuff in Photoshop as well, but do the colors in Procreate because that's the type of halftone software I use. Yeah, I mean, everybody really likes Procreate. I haven't actually used it. I don't have an iPad Pro, but man, everybody really seems to like that. I think you can even do simple animations in it. It seems like Photoshop really kind of dropped the ball getting their software on mobile and as a higher quality earlier. Right, this song is not going to work. There we go. Alright, so let's see. Do you do the flatting as well, Marlena? I've only seen a few pages, so I don't know. I mean, it sometimes I don't necessarily need a flatter if there's not too much going on a page, but sometimes it does help, I'm not gonna lie. Helps a bit already. Most of my coloring is just doing these flat colors. You know, as far as whenever I do the highlights and shadows, that usually takes me honestly minutes. Really the most difficult part is this initial stage. Horace has seen some better days. This is probably the most dramatic cover. Well, it's definitely the most dramatic cover that I've done so far. Horace is kind of beaten up. Sam's on the ropes, and Slurp is flying in from the background. So I really wanted to kind of gin up the tension. I keep looking at old covers and really trying to distill what I loved about them, besides the colors and the actual mark making. So that's what I keep keeping in mind. Definitely no Slurp's outfit. I spelled Slurp wrong. It's an amazing page. It should really help grab people. Thank you. Yeah, I know you need to be objective about your work. Where your faults are and your strengths are. But sometimes you get really happy with a piece, and I was really happy with this. What I had in my head really kind of came out on the page. So when that happens, it's very satisfying. Yeah, so I sort of stay in this flat state for a long time, and then the very last thing I do is add like the textures that you know have like the grain and the paper texture, because that actually really affects the colors some way, in some unexpected ways. But at minimum, if I can get the basic colors down, usually the texture popping on top isn't too bad. But I've definitely had to change things once I tried out the texture. I actually did try coloring with Clip Studio a couple of years ago, because that's another piece of software that people really love, and it's cheap. So I'm like, I'll give it a whirl. I think it was $50 or something. I can't remember what it was. I just couldn't get used to that. It took me way too long. So I mean, it does suck having to pay $50-$60 a month for Photoshop, for sure. Oops. I'm also trying to give some of the other characters a little more spotlight, like Sam and Slurp. Sam, what did I call him? Sam, Max. So I figured I'll make him the center, sort of picking himself up, facing this big guy alone. I always think of Max's outfit, his colors, as like my Scooby-Doo homage, with that green and purple. Okay, that's way too dark. The other thing I do with colors that is a little different is I always use local color. You know, instead of, like, if it's nighttime, you would essentially cast everything in blue, like including Horace's helmet. So instead of, you know, bright red, it's got a bluish cast on top of it. I decided early on just to make everything local color, so he's always that blue. Max is always that purple and orange. I think it works as long as I can kind of imply different times of day and different colors with other characters or walls and floors. I think it seems to work pretty well. Let's try this one. Let's do yellow. I will say, limiting my palette, one of the hardest is the skin tones. I have really maybe 2 or 3 usable skin tones most of the time. It depends. Especially when you have 2 characters that I'm like, okay, well, we have 4 characters in this scene. I got 3 usable skin tones. You just gotta reuse it and hope that they can separate. That's not gonna work. Yeah, there's always things to fix or add. I mean, flatters don't really know, you know, exactly what you want to do. But they definitely get the ball rolling. Yeah, I was wondering if Sundays at 3 o'clock, prime nap time, really is the best time to be doing this. It's just probably the most convenient for me, so I figured why not. Be back in 1 second. Alrighty, where was I? Definitely not doing that. What's going on? Alright, so I got some basic slurp down, we got basic horror, so all I have to do is color. Even his outlet is torn off his chest. Things are looking grave. I'm wondering if that map would have been a better idea. Actually, I am doing something a little different with this issue. I'm drawing, inking, and coloring each page as I get done. So instead of drawing them all, inking them all, and then coloring them, I think I'm going to try something a little different and do one page at a time, see how that works out. Limited palettes nightmare. That works. That's why there's a tolerance set, which is not what I want. There we go. Blue wings? What? What kind of crazy monster is this? Might be interesting. Oh. Oh, hey Ben, how's it going? Captain Goodnight? How is it going? Slurp warned Horace not to challenge this demon, but did he listen? No. That is right. Yeah, I posted something on Twitter which is I think pretty funny, but if you check it out, it's a fake board game. Check it out on Twitter. It was a blast to make it, but it actually kind of ties back to the first issue, and there's something like in sort of like story related that is kind of important in that. But I really like doing those kind of hidden extra things. Outside of the comic. I'm trying to think of somebody else that does that, but very meta stuff, we'll say. Ooh, this limited palette. Oh, jeez. That was very cool. Brian does something similar with his 80s comic parody ads. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I like the idea. I just like the idea that Horace was a real character that lived in the 20s and 30s, but this comic is about him written in the 80s. I don't know why I find that so funny, but I just like that idea. And I don't know why I can't select these tiny little pieces of flesh. Yeah, like once you sort of have, I don't know, a story, a character, or a world, it's kind of hard not to put that everywhere, even as like little Easter eggs. So I have another short story. That is not right. I have another short story that I want to do, and I'm like, should I have like little Horace H. Hoover Easter eggs in there? Does I get a little too much? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Captain Goodnight. None of the people. What's going on? See, none of the people shown playing appear to be in the recommended 39 to 45 age range. Hope that doesn't end badly. I know, that's a really specific group of people that this board game is for. They could get sued, or they could have gotten sued in the 80s, but it's not the 80s anymore, so I think we're safe. Okay, now what is junk? What is the color of junk? That's a good question. The color of junk. So we don't want it to be too dark. But we don't, we'll see. We'll play around with it. You do want to anchor the bottom of the page like that, but if it's too dark, then it competes. So let's see. Yeah, so watching me color really is watching me click on a color, look at it, undo it. Do that about 30 times. It's a little lighter, but it's not too dark, not too light. I'm gonna go with that for a bit. I could pop some color down at the bottom, just to. I don't want blue, too much blue already. Purple? Maybe, like a red. I don't think we want purple ground though. Trees are too dark, right? Let's redo the trees. That's probably better. Hello, Diana. How's it going? I am currently coloring the drawing that you flatted. That's awesome. Yeah, and I was saying that I'm going to approach this a bit differently. So you'll probably be getting regular pages from me since I'm going to be coloring and penciling and coloring. I'm sorry, penciling, inking at the same time. So as I get a page done, I'll ship it over to you for flats. Let's see. I'm gonna go different color with the old tunic. It's a little too blue. Maybe a different shade of blue, actually. Yeesh, that's too light. Purple. Reminds me of like Hulk's purple pants or something. How about his skin color as the color of his green? I could see that green working. Gray green. I feel like it should be yeah, and the other thing too is with a limited color palette, you have to think, I have Horace who's blue and red and brown, orange kind of thing. Then we have Max who's purple and green, and you have Slurp who's yellow. Having another character pop out is really difficult. Is pretty tough when you have all of those. You know, if you're doing Horace, it's easy to just put an orange background or an orange bad guy and he'll pop out, obviously. But now I have 6 colors. How do I have something? If I do orange, then that might blend in with Slurp a little bit, or if I do, browns, then that's gonna muddy everything. Diana, different colors. Oh no, you did a good job. I mean, I could have sent you reference for this character, but it wasn't a big deal. I like starting. I just like replacing every single color anyway, so it works out. You're not supposed to be coloring, you're just flatting, so no worries. With fingernails, though, I do need some color on those. I might have to check. I think he has blue fingernails. I should check. Maybe blue-gray fingernails. This is why character sheets are so important, because you just can't remember this stuff. And by you, I mean me. Yeah, he's got like a... Well, you know what? Those are lighter. That's a lighter gray. I'm gonna do these again. These are a little too dark. So... Interesting. What I could do, spoilers. Darn it. He's a very bluish character. I should have saved this in my color palette, but I did not. I just saved a few colors, but not all the colors I needed. That's unfortunate. Poor Horace has seen better days, yeah, for sure. This is the conclusion of the Smoke Man stuff, so I wanted to make it, pretty dire. Let's see, to give a layer for each character. I usually do. In this scenario, it's a cover, so I just I'm pretty haphazard about it, honestly. I just have a bunch of layers. The flatter does do... She does do characters like this, so I do have those, but I end up replacing all of them, so yeah. Today's a haphazard kind of organization. I haven't named my layers. People are probably gonna... Yes, the masses are gonna revolt that I didn't name my layers. But I should do that, for sure. Yeah, Ben, I do have a flatter. I got to a point where I was gonna lose my mind. It worked out. She's actually in the chat right now. Diana Colinda, I don't know how to pronounce 22. She's actually the flatter that did this, so tell her she did a good job. Captain Goodnight. Hopefully Horace's helmet will protect him. Is the vacuum made of metal or bakelite? I don't know what bakelite is. So it's made from metal, but Horace has, we'll say, special abilities where he can transmute these substances, we'll say. I'm leaving it at that. So it may look like metal, but maybe it functions a bit more sturdier than metal, so we'll see. Diana, every time I see Horace, I wonder who's behind the helmet. Yeah, I wonder too. We'll find out about his life and sort of his job and his family life, all that, but we'll never actually see his face. That's the one thing that I definitely decided on early, that I didn't want to show his face. Alrighty, so where was I with this? That's right, I'm doing junk. Just doing some junk. I might actually cut out some of the junk. Just to separate some of these pieces a little bit. Just to get a few more different colors in here. Something just kind of was smashed, so definitely want to show it's debris of some sort. Different kinds of debris, I should say. Even if it is pretty subtle. Because a lot of times for this, I'll use light whenever I do the highlights to really pop certain planes and leave other ones where they're at. That's when things really kind of come to life, which I don't know if we'll get to today, probably not, is my guess. Man, this limited palette sometimes just... I have no one to blame but myself. And my love of Bronze Age comics, really, that's others. He has a wife, so who is him? He does have a wife. I'm trying to think when that gets mentioned. It does get mentioned in the first issue. So he does mention he has a wife, and we actually see her in issue 3, briefly. She will play a role, for sure, in the ongoing series when we get there. Thank you, I appreciate that. Captain Goodnight. Bakelite was the first synthetic plastic. Some early vacuum cleaners used it. I had no idea. And you know more about vacuums than I do, but that's actually good to know. Maybe I'll work that in. I'm moving a little too early, but that's fine. Normally I wouldn't do this stage where I put like actual highlights, even if it is just a change of a plane. I really try to wait till the very end to do that. So this is where I just stare at it for a while. Obviously the old trick of shrinking it down, see if it looks good. Midnight Mausoleum. I have an old radio that is Bakelite. Yeah, I've never heard of that. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's pretty interesting. What very odd name too. All right, so looking at it here, it's pretty good, but I would like a bit more contrast. Another trick you can do, essentially turn everything black and white. and that way you can see if there's real contrast or it's just the colors. My keyboard is not working with me here for some reason. Huh. What do you know? That's curious. Which I won't do here because my keyboard's not working. But I think, and again, you have to think, okay, at this size, does it work? Roughly, does it work? He is moving forward from the background. So are all the characters. You know, the junk piles up in front, that's working. And then, you know, just to give an example of something I might do is, once I have the colors and all that done, you know, I'm just gonna pop this up, you know. I'm gonna do highlights, and that'll just really make, this is just fake here, but just to show what I'm talking about. So I pick a real light, that's not light. And then you shrink it down, like it really pops forward. Like you can really see his leg move forward. So you just have to realize that is going to be a phase and make sure that you keep that in mind. Like this hand is really going to pop forward for sure. That's going to be one of the first things you see. As far as highlights, you know, depending on what time of day it is, that's really gonna dictate a lot. And sometimes I will pick a color that it shouldn't be, and by that I mean it's not necessarily logical. So I actually try to start kind of playing around with that and just see what it looks like. You know, because you'd be surprised, mainly because I'm forced with the palette, but sometimes that odd color choice really does make all the difference in the world. Like I do like this very bright kind of skin tony for him. Interesting. Now, if that's the case, let's say, for example, I use this as a light source. It's a yellow light, so it's the sun, it's not the moon or anything. Then I have to make sure that the background now reflects that instead of more of like I don't know what that's not like night or day, it's more neutral. But if I grab this and change it to reflect that highlight in his arm, so we'll just very generically go yellow, then that makes, wow, that's a break. Something like this, it makes a lot more sense. So sometimes making one decision will make you have to change a whole bunch throughout the image. So usually having those ideas ahead of time, like is it day, is it night, what kind of mood am I going for, you really should try to nail that down beforehand. But to be completely honest, I mean, you also should react to the drawing and the coloring as you're doing it. If you try to like squash any sort of creativity you have at this point, it's not going to be great. So I definitely leave it open. Bakelite sounds like a sugar-free baked goods. It's exactly, yeah, it does, Bakelite. Let's see, Diana, seeing you color, I'm still learning about background colors. I've been a flatter for 13 years and I'm still learning. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you really gotta just kind of figure out what the image is about, what's going on in it, but don't let that completely stifle any expression or like creative selections that you want. If you want to have a purple sky, try that out. You know, with Photoshop, you can try out 10 different skies before you settle on one. Ben, my low-tech way of checking my image is throwing a hue layer filled with black over the top to see if my focal point is working, popping. Oh, that's a good idea. Well, I'm going to do that right now. A hue layer filled with black. Okay, that's something I've never done. See? Fill layer? Hue. Like this? No, that's not it. A hue layer. You might need to show me how to do this. Midnight Mausoleum. Sometimes for a dramatic effect, you will have a big splash color in a certain frame, even if the color of the background doesn't match adjoining frames. I do that occasionally. Yeah, that's a great point. You know, color can really draw your eye. I mean, almost more than the drawing. I hate to say that, but I can have the greatest drawn splash page, but if everything is muted and there's no focal point like Ben was talking about, nobody will really jump to it. Oh, I see. Create a layer. Okay. Let me try that. And this has to be black, I think. Oh. Interesting. That was a really quick way to do that. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. Yeah. I would flatten it and then like pull the saturation out. That's how bad and very old school I am. Yeah, you can see right here where the shoulder and that hand really pops. So this is a good way to show that. I'm going to keep that. Thanks, Ben. That was a good tip. It is really tempting to, you know, for Horace, put everything with like dusk, orange skies and things like that. So I have to really consciously put him in different settings, nighttime, you know, underground or something like that. But for this, I hadn't decided. This was just my where was I? Alright, because I don't want a yellow sky, so that was just to show what I was talking about. I'm just going to go to this more neutral blue. And then the highlights on his shoulder. I did not save that to a layer. I am usually pretty good about highlights. I do save those to a layer. So I always have my flats and then I do something done like this. I'm also, as you may have noticed, I'm not super particular. You know, I like the idea of going outside the lines. So I'm not pixel perfect when it comes to the coloring. I just kind of quickly cut out a mask. It's my way of also doing the same things that they used to do when coloring. See, try light lavender on background. Yeah, I think I will have to go more purpley eventually. Because the goal, I think, was to have an evening, nighttime, kind of like, so how the trees are, the trees, I think, are correct at this point. Like, that tree's not right. That was just temporary. So I'll keep working that idea. that's also another good point. I never, I only take the logo into account at the very end, which I shouldn't do. I really should be thinking about that the whole time. But the logo is set up where it can be different colors, which I like. So far, I think it's been, I don't know, red? Has it just been red so far? But I have different versions of the logo. It's issue 2 is yellow, so I think issue 1 was red. So if it needs to be a different color or white, I do have the Illustrator file that makes that a little easier. Yeah, this is gonna be. All right, maybe I will try to tweak the background a little bit. Lavender. Oh. Red, okay, yeah, so red and yellow. I definitely think white usually works pretty well too with the logo, so we'll see. We'll see about this one. Actually, I would like to bring in some textures right now. Yeah, so using this trick, definitely want to go lighter with the background, but I don't. Alright, let's see. I'm waiting for the day where I cheat and actually, oh, that's a little bit lighter, and actually use a color that's not in my palette for somebody to like call me on it. Although admittedly, once I put that texture layer on there, that's like a screen layer, I think. So that does tweak the colors a little bit. So it's not, 100% pure. And I have been known to completely redo a color before, like the whole palette. Like right now I'm looking at this, and I'm wondering. I think I might have a logo that I can throw on there. Yeah, here's a black and white one. The other thing too about this, I thought would be pretty cool is, like, definitely Slurp is going to be over the logo, which I like that idea. I might actually grab some texture just to see what that would look like. I have to let it sit for days before I'm sure about it. Exactly. I'm absolutely the same way. I don't know how people can just knock it out and just move on. I'm like, no. I look at it multiple times before I can really make that decision. So this is sort of have two texture layers that I use. And that always helps in this stage to pick, where are my transform tools? What's going on? Curious. weird. I don't know. I will have to sit on this, I think. Alrighty. I think I'm good. I don't think I can do any more work on this. It's just going to be redoing and undoing at this point. I'm just going to have to sit on it and then work on it again. I might stream the coloring, the whole coloring for this. Might be kind of fun. That way, have the whole thing documented, kind of like how I'm doing the 3D model on Rob Geronimo's stream. Might be kind of interesting. Alrighty, well, I hope everybody has a good day. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everybody popping in the chat. It's always fun to have somebody keep me company while I am indecisive about what color to use on every part of the drawing. Captain Goodnight, your Malice Manor box says F41-3 players. Does it? I can fix that later. 1-3 players? Is there an extra dash somewhere? 2-3 players. Sorry, I'm looking at the ad. Malice box. Oh, the box. Oh my god, are you using like a magnifying glass? Jeez. That is incredible. Wow. Yeah, I can fix that maybe. You must have like X-ray vision or something. Thanks for catching that though. You are like my proofer. You're definitely picking up stuff that I miss. All right. Well, anyway. Yeah, thanks again, everybody. I appreciate it. And I will be on Twitter, Instagram, and all the usuals. Thanks again. Everybody have a good evening. Bye.